Hello vinyl community and YouTube community of all the world over. I'm Scott Garrett, and I'm going to make a video now showing you my top 10 most valuable records that I own, vinyl records. I'm using this thing called Photo Booth on my old 2011 MacBook Pro, and I don't know exactly where I'm supposed to look. I think I'm supposed to look at this green dot at the top there, but I'm not sure, so if I'm a little cross-eyed, sorry about that. But hopefully we'll have fun with this anyway. Why I chose 10 most valuable records, I don't know, but should be a fun topic. Get me a chance to show off some of my more esteemed pieces of memorabilia in my record collection. And I'm using the Discogs median value. I got all my stuff cataloged on Discogs. Great website if you own records. Great tool to purchase and catalog and sell, all that stuff. If you don't use it, definitely got to use it. Although if you're a record collector, you might probably already do. But if not, check that out. So let's go to number 10 now. This is kind of an odd one, and there'll be a few more odd ones in here. But this is Tonetta 777. Kind of a strange cover there, and if you're not familiar with Tonetta, he's pretty hard to describe, but I would just say look up a few of his videos on YouTube, and it's pretty weird stuff, pretty odd, pretty creepy stuff, but I like stuff like that. I'm a fan of outsider music. I collect outsider music. There'll be at least one more that fits that category definition coming up here in a second, but yeah, I don't even know how to describe this guy. He's been recording for about 20-30 years, and he's just a weird guy, but he makes some. I enjoy his music and his whole persona. But this record is a limited edition out of 500, so there you can see that right there. $4.95 out of 500 is my copy. I'd always wanted that. He actually has 3 compilations. They're all limited edition out of 500. That's the first version of that. So I had it on my want list, and it popped up for cheaper than usual. Not super cheap in the grand scheme of things, but the cheapest I've ever seen it. So I clicked it. Couldn't refuse it. Couldn't turn it down. And now I own Tonetta on vinyl, baby. Somewhere around $80 minimum median value, something like that. Alright, this next one has probably the most interesting story attached to it. Here's what the record looks like. And this is Jens Lachman, Jenslekman. The name of the album is You're So Silent, Jens, or Oh, You're So Silent, Jens. And I found that one in a box of used records. Someone I worked at a video store for a while, and someone dropped a box of records off there and said they didn't want them anymore. So I just kind of left them there for a while, looked through them, and most of it was really beat up copies of like Crosby, Stills and Nash, and decent classic rock stuff that would have been decent if it was in good condition, but most of them were kind of trashed. And then there were a few more modern records, and that one I looked up the value on, and it was like $80-$90 minimum median value. I guess people like that dude, and kind of a rare record. And I probably would sell it, but there's a track on there called Black Cab that I just love, so I every now and then I just give that track Black Cab a spin. The rest of the album's good too, but I just love that one track in particular. So I ain't gonna sell it yet because it's not on Spotify either, and might as well keep it around for now. Jens Lachman, number 9. And number 8, this is another outsider artist with another weird cover, or minimalistic cover, kind of. This is Jandek, and the album's called Interstellar Discussion. I went through a big phase where I was really into Jandek, and then later on when I started making more money, I started buying a lot of his original records. They're all kind of spendy, but this one in particular, I spent more on it than I would normally ever spend on a record. But it just never even popped up for sale. So when I saw one for sale, I'm like, well, I'm never going to see that again for another 2 years. So I just bought it. That was one of the first ones I owned on CD, so had to buy that. Jandek, another artist I can't really describe. Not the kind of music most people would like. A lot of people would say it's not even music because it's so amateurish sounding and weird and creepy. And but I love it. I really resonate with a lot of his stuff, and proud to be the owner of probably 7 or 8 or 9, maybe 10 of his original albums, and a few of all 3 of the re-releases that they did as well. So if you like outsider music, you got to check that out. All right, so where are we at here? Number 7, I believe. This is a bit more well-known. Velvet Underground and Nico. This is not an original. This is a 1968 press. And, of course, the banana is totally peeled. But it still makes the cut for this top 10 list. I acquired that at a record convention. I had a booth where I was selling stuff and made a decent amount of money. And someone was selling that there for like $75. So I'm like, I want to own an original, or at least an early pressing of that. So picked it up. Pretty decent sound. A little crackle on it, but sounds pretty good. And I don't regret it. I'm glad I own that. Just picked up a copy of White Light, White Heat original pressing also a couple days ago. And that one's, for some reason, not quite as hard to find as the other 3 albums. But anyway, so Velvet Underground and Nico, 1968 pressing. Peeled, not the, whatever you call that, the torso cover. It ain't no torso cover, I don't think. Pretty sure. But still a decent little nifty number there. Alright, number 6. And this is actually appropriate to be number 6, because this is 69 Love Songs by the Magnetic Fields. This is the box set that got released a few years ago, and it's the colored edition, colored vinyl edition. There's red and clear and regular black also. But there's like I think there's 6 total records in there, 6 10-inch records. And fantastic album. Just like, can't believe how many great songs they managed to record. Just fantastic album if you haven't heard it. And one that you can really dive into and spend a lot of time with, and discover new gems week after week, year after year of listening. And the colored vinyl edition is worth a bit more than the standard black vinyl, but around $100 now, I think. I spent a little less than that, but. So this next one is number 5, Ornette Coleman, The Shape of Jazz to Come. This is a freaking amazing jazz album. I'm into that old jazz and that free jazz, and Ornette Coleman is one of my favorites. But this particular record here, I think I bought it just like for $20 or something like that. Probably a decade ago, maybe longer, at a store, and I always thought, oh, that's cool, and then I knew it looked older, but I didn't know it was an original pressing. But it is an original. I think it's a completely original pressing, like the very first. Got this whirly thing in the middle there, the green-blue whirlies, and yeah. It's in good condition too, so one of my most prized records there. And even though I only paid $20 for it, it's like $120, $130 or something like that. $115 actually. I got the page pulled up. $115 median on Discogs. So I'm happy to own that, and it's in good shape too. Weird thing about this one is that it's kind of an error copy because the labels are switched. So side A labels on side B labels on side A, which makes it confusing to play, but I don't know if that kind of thing would make it more valuable or less valuable, or not, have no effect on it. But It is interesting. So number 4, another one that I bought for a normal $20 price, and then later found out it was an original and rare, but different era here. This is OK Computer by Radiohead. I'm sure most of you know that one. And bought that at a record store probably mid-2000s. And when I was first getting into buying records, that was one of the first records I bought, actually. I think I bought it along with Elephant by the White Stripes, which also turned out to be an original pressing. Not as valuable as that, but also kind of valuable in its own right. And this OK Computer is actually an original UK pressing. I'm 99% sure it is. It was kind of hard to tell. I spent like an hour researching what it is because the different versions just look so similar, and it is UK pressing, and it looked very similar to a later UK pressing, but I know I bought it before that later one came out, so I'm pretty sure this is an original, which makes it $120 median on Discogs, and one of the most prized in my collection. Number 3, this one, unfortunately, I didn't take good care of it, and well, at least the cover, but I'm still proud to own this. This is Bob Dylan Live 1966. Phenomenal live album, one of my favorite albums. It was during the time when he was transitioning from folk to rock and roll, and the crowds were kind of against him. So side 2 is him playing rock and roll with the band, and the crowd a little antagonistic towards him, and yeah, it's a great historical document, but also some really kick-ass rock and roll, and the folk side's good too. It's got disc 1 is all just him and an acoustic guitar. Disc 2 is all rock and roll with the band, and it's just total punk rock, total attitude in its pure form. But I think I paid like $60-70 for it, and it's like $135 now. But the flaps are coming off, and it's a little crinkly at the bottom. So if I was going to sell it, I wouldn't sell it for the full median even. But I probably won't sell it because I love that album a lot. The only reason I'd sell it is if I wanted to get a cleaner copy of it. The discs are fine, but the jacket's a little weary. All right, number 2 rather. This one is kind of a sore spot for me because although I do love this, I'm glad to own it. This is Dead Man soundtrack. Neil Young did the music, and one of my favorite movies. I love the soundtrack. Just this great, just distorted Western guitar solos and stuff like that, and like nothing I've ever heard before. And I'd always really wanted to own it, but that original was the only one that existed, and it was selling between like $200-300, sometimes even more than that. So I just didn't want to spend that much on it. But then one day one popped up for like $115 or something, and I had like $90 worth of credit on PayPal that I didn't know what to do with. So I'm like, I'm going to buy that right now. I'm going to take advantage of that deal plus my PayPal credit. And I bought it. It did have, and it said this in the description. It has a little pop on one of the records. Pops for like 30 seconds or maybe less than that. But I was like, I can get over that, and because I just really wanted to own it, so I bought that. And then 2 months later, or maybe even less than that, it was like right after they announced they were repressing it and re-releasing it. So I was like, ugh, could have just waited and got the re-release. But at least I own an original. Kind of a cool artifact, I guess. And the median value went down on it, but it's still like $150 median, and still number 2 on the Discogs median in my collection. So number one is this Big Time Country compilation. This thing. Okay, that was a joke. This is not the most valuable in my collection, although this isn't bad. It's got Johnny Cash, Marty Robbins, Jimmy Dean. Not a bad little country compilation, but I wanted to throw a joke in there. Awkward joke. Alright, this is my number one most valuable. And this thing is hefty. This is Tom Waits' Orphans box set. I bought this when it came out. It's got like 9 records in it. Fantastic compilation if you like Tom Waits. And they did re-release this individually because this is divided into Ballers, Brawlers, and Bastards. And they released all 3 of those individually for Record Store Day last year, so you can get this, although there's a bonus disc in this too. But this full collection is still quite valuable and still sells for quite a lot. I mean, it's 9 discs, you know, how could it not? Even if it wasn't out of print and all that, I still paid like $150 for it when it came out, but now it's up to like $250, $300, whatever. But I'm happy to own that. And happy they re-released it so some people can get it more affordably too, or re-release them individually. And that's it. That's it. So those are my top 10. And I'll try to make more record videos, more vinyl videos. Been watching a lot of vinyl videos. Shout out to the Vinyl Guru who posted on my page on my last and only vinyl record video. Encouraged me to do more stuff. So this is my attempt, for better or worse. I watched some of her stuff too, and it's really good, really enjoyable stuff. I've been watching this channel, Noble Records, pretty entertaining. Dots and Loops is a favorite of mine as well. So anyway, if you made it this far, thanks for watching. Boom.